Judge, drop that gal now or this courtroom ends today.
Lower that weapon, Chief, or your badge dies right here.
The camera captured the exact moment a decorated police chief's hand moved toward his loaded gun in Judge Judy's courtroom. 28 years of authority. 54,000 arrests. A badge he wore like a crown. And in the next 8 words that left Judge Judy's mouth, all of it, gone. But here's what nobody expected. The gun? That wasn't even the worst part. What Judge Judy revealed in the next 47 minutes would trigger the largest FBI corruption investigation in California history, expose a criminal empire hidden inside a police department, and send a man who thought he was untouchable to federal prison for a quarter century. This isn't just a courtroom case. This is the story of how one sentence destroyed a predator who'd been hunting innocent people for 15 years. His name was Robert Matthews. Police chief. 6'3". 240 pounds of muscle and ego. The kind of cop who walked into rooms and watched people's spines bend. He controlled 150 officers across 6 precincts. He had the mayor on speed dial. District attorneys feared him. Judges owed him favors. And for 15 years he'd been running the perfect scam, using his badge to extort, threaten, plant evidence, and destroy anyone who dared tell him no. 47 documented victims. Over $1 million stolen. Lives ruined. Businesses destroyed. Families shattered. All because this man believed his uniform made him a god. And sitting across from him in Judge Judy's courtroom was Marcus Rivera. 38-year-old Marine Corps veteran. Purple Heart recipient. Father of 2 little girls. A man who'd survived 2 tours in Afghanistan only to have his entire life destroyed by the police chief who was supposed to protect him. Matthews had framed him. Planted $25,000 in stolen car parts in Marcus's auto repair shop. Arrested him in front of his daughters at 6 in the morning. Destroyed his business. Bankrupted his family. Cost him $98,000 fighting false charges. All because Marcus had refused to give the police chief free car repairs. One act of honesty. One moment of integrity. And Matthews decided to annihilate him. But what Robert Matthews didn't know, what his arrogance had blinded him to, was that Judge Judy had spent 3 days preparing for this case. She had FBI reports, internal affairs files, financial records showing $850,000 in unexplained income, security footage of officers planting evidence, text messages proving conspiracy, testimony from 15 other victims Matthews had destroyed. She wasn't just ready for him. She'd been waiting for someone exactly like him her entire career. And when Matthews walked into that courtroom wearing his dress uniform, every metal gleaming, his service weapon loaded on his hip, smirking at the cameras like this was all beneath him, he had absolutely no idea he was walking into the biggest mistake of his life. The moment happened 32 minutes into the trial. Judge Judy had just exposed his lies. Played the security footage showing his officers planting evidence at 2:47 in the morning. Revealed his pattern of targeting business owners who refused to pay protection money. Listed his hidden assets, 3 rental properties, a vacation home, luxury vehicles, a $75,000 boat, all purchased with extorted cash. Matthews was cornered. Exposed. Humiliated on national television. And his hand, pure muscle memory from 28 years of intimidating people, dropped to his gun. Not drawing it. Just resting there. The universal threat language every cop knows. I'm armed. I could use this. The courtroom froze. Marcus's wife grabbed her husband's arm, terror in her eyes. The bailiff's hand went to his weapon. The audience gasped. Cameras captured every microsecond. And Judge Judy, 5'1", 78 years old, absolutely fearless, locked eyes with this 6'3" police chief whose hand was on a loaded gun, and said the 8 words that would end his career, his freedom, and his life as he knew it. Chief Matthews, you just ended your own career. But those 8 words? They were just the beginning of his destruction. Because what Judge Judy said in the next 6 minutes would expose crimes so deep, so calculated, so evil, that the FBI would be raiding his house within 48 hours. Federal agents would find $340,000 in cash hidden in his garage. Documents linking him to organized crime. Evidence of a protection racket that spanned 7 years. 28 years of so-called service. Erased in 28 seconds of pure arrogance. Before I show you exactly how Judge Judy dismantled this criminal piece by piece, I need you to do something right now. Pause this video for 2 seconds and smash that subscribe button. Because what you're about to witness, the complete destruction of a corrupt police chief who thought he was untouchable, is the most satisfying justice you'll see all year. And if you've ever dealt with corrupt authority, if you've ever been told you can't fight back against power, this story will restore your faith that truth always wins. Hit subscribe now. You'll thank me when you see what happens next. Now let me take you back to where this nightmare began. 14 months before that courtroom. A sunny Tuesday afternoon in Riverside County, California. Marcus Rivera's auto repair shop. The day a decorated police chief walked through the door and expected the world to bow. It was 3:45 p.m. when Chief Robert Matthews pulled up in his personal vehicle, a black Cadillac Escalade with custom rims. He didn't make an appointment. Didn't call ahead. Just parked in the customer zone and walked into Rivera Auto Services like he owned the place. Marcus was under a Honda Accord, finishing an oil change for Mrs. Chin, the elderly woman who'd been a customer for 6 years. He heard the door chime, rolled out from under the car, wiped his hands on a rag and saw the uniform. Police chief. 4 gold stars on the collar. Every medal from 28 years of service pinned to his chest. Matthews didn't introduce himself. Didn't offer a handshake. Just said 5 words that would change everything. I need work done. Today. Marcus stood up, respectful but confused. The shop was packed. 3 vehicles in the bays, 2 more waiting in the lot. His appointment book was full until Thursday. He looked at the police chief and gave him the same answer he'd give anyone else. Sir, I appreciate you coming by, but I'm booked solid today. If you want to schedule something for later this week, I can. Matthew's smile vanished like someone flipped a switch. His voice dropped to that tone every cop learns, the one that's technically polite but drips with threat. I don't think you understand. I'm not asking. I need an oil change, tire rotation, full inspection. Police courtesy. Today. Now, Marcus Rivera had faced Taliban fighters in Kandahar. He'd earned a Purple Heart from shrapnel that still sat in his shoulder. He wasn't easily intimidated. But more than that, he'd built his business on one principle: treat everyone the same. Rich or poor, cop or civilian, everyone pays. Everyone waits their turn. That integrity was why his shop had 4.9 stars and 800 reviews. So he took a breath and said the 7 words that would destroy his life. Sir, I charge everyone the same price. Matthews stepped closer. Close enough that Marcus could smell his cologne, expensive, overpowering. Everyone the same? Son, do you know who I am? I'm the police chief of this county. I have 150 officers under my command. We protect businesses like yours. Keep criminals away. Make sure you can operate safely. He paused, let that sink in. Seems like the kind of relationship where you'd want to show appreciation. Marcus felt it then. That sick feeling in his gut. This wasn't a request. This was extortion wrapped in a uniform. Chief Matthews, I support law enforcement. My brother's a cop in San Diego. But I run an honest business. No exceptions. No free services. If you'd like to schedule an appointment and pay standard rates, I'm happy to help you Thursday morning, 9 a.m. The temperature in that garage dropped 20 degrees. Matthew's jaw clenched so tight a muscle twitched in his neck. His hand, the same hand that would reach for his gun 14 months later, flexed into a fist. He leaned in until his face was 6 inches from Marcus's, and his voice became a whisper that somehow felt louder than a shout. You sure that's smart? You really sure you want to go down this road? Marcus's hands were shaking, but his voice stayed steady. Sir, I'm just trying to run my shop with integrity. Matthews stared at him for 5 long seconds. Then he smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing Marcus had ever seen. Colder than any insurgent's eyes in Afghanistan. More dangerous than any roadside bomb. Because this smile had the full weight of the law behind it. Integrity, Matthews repeated like the word tasted funny. All right, Mr. Rivera. We'll see about your integrity. He turned and walked toward the door. Paused with his hand on the handle. Looked back over his shoulder. Nice shop you got here. Family business? Kids? Yeah, I saw the photos on your desk. Pretty daughters. Be a shame if anything happened to this place. To them. You know how dangerous this neighborhood can be. And then he was gone. The door chimed. The Escalade pulled away. And Marcus stood there, oil-stained rag still in his hands, realizing he'd just made an enemy of the most powerful man in the county. What he didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that Matthews had already pulled out his phone in the parking lot, was already texting his most loyal officers, was already planning the systematic destruction of everything Marcus had built. The message was 3 words: Rivera Auto Services. Handle it. Within 7 days, Marcus's nightmare would begin. Health inspectors, fire marshals, police cruisers parked outside, scaring away customers, anonymous complaints, midnight investigations. His revenue would drop 60% in 1 month, 75% in 2 months. Employees would quit out of fear. His wife would start having panic attacks. His daughters would ask why police cars were always outside. And Marcus would realize, too late, that refusing free service to a corrupt police chief doesn't just cost you a customer. It costs you everything. But Matthews made one critical mistake in his campaign of terror. One error that would eventually destroy him in Judge Judy's courtroom. He underestimated the man he was trying to break. Because Marcus Rivera hadn't just survived war. He'd learned something in those Afghan mountains that Matthews never understood. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's documentation in the face of it. And Marcus started documenting everything. For 97 days Marcus Rivera lived in hell. Every morning brought a new violation. Every evening brought a new threat. Health inspectors found problems that didn't exist. $2,800 in fines for safety hazards that magically appeared overnight. Fire marshals cited him for blocked exits that had been clear for 6 years. Police cruisers parked directly outside his shop, engines running, officers staring at customers who dared to enter. His business dropped from 12 cars a day to 3, then to 1, then to none. But Marcus did something Matthews never expected. He bought security cameras. 8 of them. Interior and exterior. 24/7 recording, cloud backup, motion detection. Cost him $1,500 he couldn't afford. Money that should have bought groceries for his daughters. But he installed them anyway because his Marine Corps training taught him one thing. When you're under attack, you gather intelligence. Month 3. March 17th. 2:47 in the morning. Marcus's security system pinged his phone. Motion detected. He pulled up the feed on his phone, lying in bed next to his sleeping wife. And what he saw made his blood turn to ice. 2 police officers. Officer Daniels and Officer Kruger. Matthew's closest men, his enforcers, the ones who'd been parked outside the shop for weeks. They weren't in uniform. Civilian clothes. Hoodies. But Marcus recognized their faces from the previous harassment. They were carrying boxes. Large cardboard boxes. Moving quickly toward his shop's back entrance. Marcus watched them pick the lock, a skill no honest cop should have perfected. Watched them disappear inside his shop. His business. His livelihood. He wanted to call 911, but who do you call when the people breaking in are the police? So he just recorded. Watched. Documented. His hands shaking so badly he could barely hold the phone. 12 minutes later they emerged. Boxes empty. They looked around, checked for witnesses, then jogged back to an unmarked vehicle parked 2 blocks away. Marcus saved the footage to 3 different cloud services. Downloaded it to his laptop. Burned it to 2 DVDs. He didn't know what they'd planted, but he knew it was bad. 4 hours later he found out exactly how bad. 6 a.m. Boom, boom, boom. Battering ram against his front door at home. Police. Search warrant. Isabella and Sophia, his daughters 11 and 8 years old, screaming from their bedroom. Elena, his wife, sobbing, grabbing the girls. And Marcus, hands raised, being thrown against the wall of his own living room while officers swarmed through his house like an invasion force. 12 officers. Full tactical gear. For 1 auto mechanic. For 1 Marine veteran who'd never committed a crime in his life. Chief Matthews wasn't there. Of course not. He was too smart to show his face. But his second-in-command, Lieutenant Briggs, was leading the raid, and the smile on his face told Marcus everything. This was personal. This was revenge. This was the price of saying no to a police chief. They found exactly what they'd planted. $25,000 in stolen catalytic converters. High-value items, easy to move, impossible to trace. Hidden in the back storage room where Marcus kept spare parts. Perfectly positioned. Perfectly planted. Perfectly fake. You're under arrest for receiving stolen property, operating a chop shop, criminal conspiracy. The handcuffs bit into his wrists, the same wrists that had held rifles defending his country, that had worked 16-hour days building an honest business, that had hugged his daughters goodnight every single night. And through his front window, Marcus could see his neighbors watching. Phones out. Recording. His daughters' faces pressed against the glass, tears streaming down their cheeks, watching their father, their hero, being put into the back of a police car like a criminal. The media arrived within 30 minutes. Because of course they did. Matthews had tipped them off. Decorated police chief busts veterans theft ring. The headlines wrote themselves. Marcus's face, unshaven, exhausted, terrified, plastered across every news channel. His shop, his reputation, his life, destroyed before he even got to a courtroom. Bail was set at $100,000. He had to mortgage his house. The house where his daughters had their first steps. Where he and Elena had celebrated 14 anniversaries. Gone. Collateral for freedom he should have never lost. But Marcus had that security footage. And 8 months later, a young public defender named Jessica Torres, 29 years old, fresh out of law school, too idealistic to be scared of a police chief, noticed something strange. She'd been assigned 3 cases in 6 months. All small business owners. All arrested by Matthews' unit. All with planted evidence found in suspiciously similar circumstances. She started digging. Found the pattern. Found the corruption. Found Marcus's security footage. And she found something else, something huge. Judge Judy's producers looking for the perfect case to showcase justice against authority. Hold on. Before I show you what happened when Matthews walked into Judge Judy's courtroom, I need you to hit that like button right now. Because what you're about to see is the most satisfying destruction of a corrupt cop in television history. And if this story has you angry about what Matthews did to Marcus, if you're waiting to see this man pay for his crimes, that like button is how you tell YouTube to show this story to millions more people who need to see that justice is real. Hit it now. We're about to get to the good part. The courtroom doors opened at 9:15 a.m. Pacific time. Cameras rolling. Audience packed with Marcus's supporters, 23 people who'd driven 6 hours to stand with him. And then he walked in. Chief Robert Matthews. Full dress uniform. Every metal gleaming under the studio lights. Service weapon on his hip, loaded as always. Striding to the defendant's table like he was walking onto a stage built for him. He looked at Marcus once. Just once. A smirk playing at his lips. The look that said, "You think this matters? You think some TV judge can touch me?" What he didn't see was Judge Judy watching him from the bench. Her eyes narrowed. Her jaw set. A 200-page file open in front of her containing everything. His financial crimes. His pattern of victims. His planted evidence. His protection rackets. The FBI investigation he didn't know existed. She'd been waiting 25 years for someone exactly like Robert Matthews. And she was about to yind him. Judge Judy didn't waste time with pleasantries. She looked at Matthews, then at Marcus, and her first words cut through the courtroom like a scalpel through flesh. "Mr. Rivera, you're suing Chief Matthews for $250,000 claiming false arrest, planted evidence, and destruction of your business. You say he framed you because you refused to give him free car repairs. Chief Matthews, you say this man ran a chop shop and deserved to be arrested. Let's see who's telling the truth." Matthews leaned back in his chair, completely relaxed. That casual arrogance of a man who'd lied successfully for 15 years. "Your Honor, with all due respect, I've been in law enforcement 28 years. I've made over 54,000 arrests. This is just another criminal who got caught and wants to blame the police." Judge Judy's eyebrow raised exactly 1 millimeter. Anyone who'd watched her show knew what that meant. "Chief Matthews, I didn't ask about your career statistics. I asked about this case. Did you or did you not visit Mr. Rivera's shop 14 months ago requesting free services?" "I may have stopped by. I visit a lot of businesses in my community." "That's not what I asked. Did you request free car repairs?" Matthews shifted in his seat. First crack in the armor. "Your Honor, police officers often receive courtesy discounts from local businesses. It's a community relationship thing. Nothing illegal about." "Answer the question. Yes or no." The silence stretched for 3 seconds. The courtroom held its breath. "Yes. I asked for courtesy service." He refused. Judge Judy nodded slowly. And 7 days later, his shop was visited by health inspectors, fire marshals, and had police cruisers parked outside daily. Coincidence? Your Honor, if his business had violations. His business had 0 violations for 6 years. Perfect inspection record. Until he refused you. She pulled out a folder. I have the inspection reports right here. The violations cited? Wall paint color. Slightly uneven floor gradient. A fire extinguisher mounted 2 inches lower than regulation. Violations so minor that the inspector, your golfing buddy Thomas Brennan, admitted under oath they're never enforced unless someone complains. Who complained? Chief Matthews. Matthews' jaw clenched. I don't recall. You don't recall. Let's talk about what happened at 2:47 a.m. on March 17th. Judge Judy nodded to the bailiff. A screen descended from the ceiling. And there it was. Crystal clear security footage. Timestamp. March 17th, 2:47 a.m. 2 men in hoodies. Picking the lock of Rivera Auto Services. Entering with boxes. Emerging 12 minutes later, boxes empty. The courtroom gasped. Matthew's face drained of color. Mr. Rivera, can you identify these men? Marcus stood, voice shaking but clear. Yes, Your Honor. Officer Michael Daniels and Officer Frank Kruger. Chief Matthews' personal unit. Matthews shot to his feet. That video is fake. Edited. You can manipulate anything with computers these days. Deepfakes, CGI. This is a setup. Sit down, Chief Matthews. No. This is fraud. You're letting a criminal present doctored evidence in your courtroom. Judge Judy's voice dropped to that dangerous whisper that meant someone was about to be destroyed. The video was authenticated by 3 independent forensic experts. The metadata matches cell tower pings from both officers' phones. GPS from their patrol vehicle places them at this exact location at this exact time. Unless you're suggesting a conspiracy involving multiple experts, phone companies, and GPS satellites. Matthew's hands were shaking now. Your Honor, even if my officers made an error in judgment, mistakes happen in police work, it doesn't mean. Error in judgment? Let's talk about errors. Judge Judy opened another folder. Thicker. At least 200 pages. Deshaun Williams. 2019. Cocaine planted in his car. Lost his barber shop. 18 months in prison. Rosa Martinez. 2020. Fake health violations after she reported officer harassment. Restaurant closed. 40,000 in debt. Should I continue? I have 15 victims here. All business owners. All refused to pay you protection money. All destroyed by planted evidence or fraudulent violations. Matthew's face turned crimson. Veins bulged in his neck. This is a witch hunt. You brought these people here to ambush me. This isn't about his case. This is a goddamn setup. Watch your language in my courtroom. I don't take orders from TV judges. He stepped forward, invading the space between defendant table and bench. You have no authority here. You're not a real judge. You're a performer. The bailiff moved forward, hand near his weapon. Sir, step back. And that's when it happened. Matthew's hand, pure instinct, 28 years of muscle memory, dropped to his service weapon. Not drawing it. Just resting there. Fingers on the grip. The universal cop threat. I'm armed. I could use this. Back off. The courtroom froze. Time stopped. Marcus's wife grabbed her husband's arm, terror flooding her eyes. The bailiff's hand went to his gun. Cameras zoomed in, capturing every microsecond of this career-ending moment. Judge Judy didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't flinch. She locked eyes with this 6'3" police chief whose hand was on a loaded weapon, and her voice cut through the silence like a guillotine blade. Chief Matthews, remove your hand from that weapon. Now. Matthews looked down at his own hand like it had betrayed him. Reality crashed in. National television. Cameras recording. His hand on his gun. In a courtroom. Threatening a judge. 28 years of intimidation tactics. One catastrophic mistake. He raised both hands slowly, stepped back, face pale as death. Judge Judy stood, leaned forward, and delivered the sentence that would become the most replayed courtroom moment in history. Chief Matthews, just ended your own career. Matthews' knees buckled. He grabbed the table for support. Those 8 words crashed over him like a tidal wave. His entire world, Badge, pension, power, freedom, crumbling in real time. The gun gesture would be on every news channel within hours. The FBI would use it as evidence. His own department would have no choice but to terminate him. One gesture. 8 words. Career over. But Judge Judy wasn't finished. Not even close. Bailiff, call the FBI. Yes, Chief Matthews, I know about the federal investigation. 18 months of wiretaps, financial surveillance, witness cooperation. Your officers are wearing wires. Your closest allies have immunity deals. And that gun gesture? You just committed felony assault on a federal official. Because this courtroom, she gestured around, operates under federal jurisdiction due to interstate broadcast. Matthews collapsed into his chair, head in hands, shoulders shaking. 28 years, Chief Matthews. And you threw it all away because you couldn't handle accountability. Now let me tell you what's going to happen next. Judge Judy picked up her gavel but didn't strike it yet. She wanted Matthews to feel every word of what was coming. Mr. Rivera, I'm awarding you the full $250,000 you requested for false arrest, destruction of your business, and malicious prosecution. But we're not done. She opened the massive file in front of her. I'm adding $100,000 in punitive damages for the calculated, deliberate nature of this harassment. I'm adding $50,000 for emotional distress to your family, because your daughters watched their father dragged out in handcuffs for a crime he didn't commit but your officers did. Total to Mr. Rivera, $400,000. But here's what makes this special, Chief Matthews. I'm ordering you to pay an additional $1.2 million to be distributed equally among the 15 other victims sitting in this courtroom. Every business owner you destroyed. Every life you shattered. Every dream you crushed because they wouldn't bow to your extortion. Matthews' lawyer shot to his feet. Your Honor, that's $1.6 million total. That's excessive. We'll appeal. Appeal all you want. The judgment stands. And you know what's beautiful about that number? $1.6 million. That's exactly the value of Chief Matthews' unexplained assets. 3 rental properties. Vacation home in Tahoe. 2 luxury vehicles. The boat. All purchased with money extorted from honest people. Poetic justice. The gallery erupted in gasps and whispers. Marcus pressed his hand to his mouth, tears streaming down his face. His wife Elena sobbed into his shoulder. Judge Judy wasn't finished. Chief Matthews, I'm also ordering this footage, particularly your weapon gesture, sent immediately to the FBI field office, the Department of Justice, your mayor, the state attorney general, and every news outlet in California. You threatened a federal official with a deadly weapon on camera. That's a federal felony carrying up to 20 years. Matthews tried to speak, but only a broken sound came out. You wore that badge like a costume. You carried that gun like a license to terrorize. You betrayed every honest officer who serves with integrity. And now, you'll be remembered not for 28 years of service, but for 28 seconds of arrogance that destroyed everything. She turned to Marcus and her entire demeanor softened. Mr. Rivera, you served your country with honor in Afghanistan. You ran your business with integrity when corruption would have been easier. You stood up to a man who'd been terrorizing your community for 15 years. That takes courage most people don't have. Marcus stood, barely able to speak through tears. Thank you, Your Honor. You saved my life. My family's life. No, Mr. Rivera. You saved your own life by documenting everything. Those security cameras? That's what convicted him. Truth needs evidence. You provided both. Judge Judy turned back to Matthews, slumped in his chair, a broken shell of the arrogant man who'd strutted in 90 minutes ago. Get out of my courtroom. You're done. The gavel struck. Bang. Final. Absolute. Over. Within 1 hour, the clip hit 2 million views. Within 6 hours, 20 million. By day's end, 50 million people across every platform had watched Chief Robert Matthews' hand move toward his gun and Judge Judy end his career with 8 words. The hashtags exploded. Hashtag police chief down. Hashtag Judge Judy justice. Hashtag Matthews destroyed. News outlets ran it as breaking news. Late-night hosts replayed it. Legal analysts called it the most devastating courtroom moment in television history. 48 hours later, FBI agents raided Matthews' home. Found $340,000 cash hidden in his garage. Documents linking him to organized crime. Evidence of protection rackets spanning 7 years across 47 victims. He was arrested in his own driveway. No uniform this time. Just handcuffs and a perp walk for the cameras he'd once controlled. Federal charges, 34 counts. Racketeering. Extortion. Evidence tampering. Conspiracy. Assault on a federal official. Trial lasted 3 weeks. Every victim testified. His own officers testified against him for immunity deals. The jury deliberated 90 minutes. Guilty. All 34 counts. Sentencing, 25 years federal prison. No parole. He'd be 77 years old before eligibility for release. Marcus Rivera's life transformed in the opposite direction. GoFundMe raised $380,000. He rebuilt his shop bigger and better. Hired back every employee plus 5 more. Expanded to 3 bays. His business is now the highest-rated auto shop in Riverside County. His daughters wrote school essays about their father's courage. Elena framed the newspaper headline, "Veteran Defeats Corrupt Police Chief." They bought their first house, no longer renting, owning. The 15 other victims each received $80,000. Every single business reopened or started fresh. A support network formed. Legal advocacy organization created. State laws changed because of their testimony. If this story restored your faith that no one is above the law, that cameras don't lie, and that truth always wins, I need you to do 3 things right now. First, smash that like button so hard your thumb goes through your screen. Second, hit subscribe and turn on all notifications because we're bringing you more stories where entitled people learn consequences are real. Third, share this video with everyone who needs to see what happens when arrogance meets accountability. Comment "Justice served" if you think Matthews got exactly what he deserved. Tell me, should corrupt cops face longer sentences? I want to hear your thoughts. Remember this: badges don't grant immunity. Uniforms don't excuse corruption. And threatening Judge Judy? That's a one-way ticket to federal prison. Chief Robert Matthews learned what every bully eventually learns. Eventually, inevitably, someone stands up. Someone fights back. Someone says no. And when they do, the fall is long, hard, and permanent. 28 years of power. Destroyed by 8 words. Thanks for watching this story of justice, courage, and the moment a corrupt police chief's world ended on live television. I'll see you in the next video where another entitled person discovers that cameras, evidence, and judges who don't play games will always destroy corruption. Don't be a Matthews. Don't abuse power. Don't threaten judges. Because justice? It's not just coming. It's already here. And it's got your number.